Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at Animate.css, which is a CSS toolkit or library or whatever you want to call it that has been around for a while, and it's used to create really nice animation effects using just CSS, okay, without having to get in and creating custom animations and all that. We can just import the library and we can use it. We can also use JavaScript and also jQuery to implement events and things like that, and make it a little more in depth in terms of what we can do. So this is the Animate.css website. There's not much to it. It's basically just a drop down with all the different effects that it offers. And if we click this button, it's going to animate the header here. That's the bounce effect. We have the pulse. We have shake. What else? We have fading in and out exits. So let's say we want to fade out down. Let's see, we also have flipping. So there's all types of animations that we can use, and it's as simple as just adding a class to change the animation. Alright, so what we'll do is we're going to create a sandbox to just take a look at some of the animations and how they work. We're also going to implement a little bit of jQuery and JavaScript to control the animations, okay, because by default they're just going to run when you enter the page, but you can create events to fire them off when you want as well. All right, so that's what we're going to get into, guys. Hopefully you enjoy this, and hopefully you can use this in future projects. That's the point of these videos, is to give you guys you know, all of the tools I can to help you build websites, UIs, applications, and then use this stuff later on. So that's it. Let's go ahead and get into it. So if you guys really like my videos and you learn a lot from them, and maybe you have a couple extra dollars to spare, check out my Patreon page. I'm working on creating special content for patrons. You also get special deals on future courses, and there's even an email support tier for all YouTube videos and projects. To learn more, visit patreon.com/traversymedia. Alright guys, so we're going to get started here. Now I have an empty folder called Animate CSS Sandbox, and I have an index.html file inside of it. I'm using the Atom text editor, and I'm using two plugins. One is Emmet, which gives me the ability to use shortcuts to create HTML tags and classes and so on. I'm also using Atom Live Server, which I have running right now, and you'll see that that just allows me to open it up on my local host on port 3000. So let's go ahead and add some HTML tags. Now since I'm using Emmet, I can do !tab, and it gives me a basic HTML structure. So let's change the title here to Animate.css Sandbox. And I'm going to be bringing in two things. So one is going to be Bootstrap 4. So I'm going to say Bootstrap 4 CDN. And we'll just get it from the official Bootstrap 4 website. We're in Alpha 6 right now. But when it gets updated, this link should be updated too. So let's just go ahead and paste that in there. And then we're also going to need Animate CSS itself. Now, if you want, you can download the CSS file, but I'm just going to use the CDN. So let's say Animate.css CDN. Okay, and this cdnjs.com site is absolutely fantastic. It gives you pretty much any library you can think of, any JavaScript library, CSS file, any remote link that you can think of. So I'm just going to copy this link tag here and paste it right under the Bootstrap CDN. Okay. And then let's go ahead and save that. And now you'll see that my local host here has been updated. You can see this Animate CSS Sandbox in the title. So let's go ahead and start to build out our UI. Now I could have just done this beforehand, but I do like to do, you know, start from finish so you guys can actually see what I'm doing, and it also gives you some insight on, you know, some of the Bootstrap 4 classes and so on. So when I teach something, I like to include other technologies as well, even though that's not the main focus of the video. All right, so let's start off by just creating a container, a div with the class of container, and in there we're going to have a header. Okay, so we're going to have a header, and in the header we're going to have an h1. And I'm just going to give that a class of display-4, which is a Bootstrap 4 heading class. And let's just say Animate.css Sandbox, and we'll save that. All right, so that's what it should look like so far. Now I'm going to add some classes to the header. All right, so first of all, I want everything to be centered. So we'll say text center. I want to give it a background. So in Bootstrap 4, we have these background classes. I'm going to use BG primary. Okay, if I save that, gives it a blue background. I also want the text to be white, so it has a class of text white. And then let's add some padding. In Bootstrap 4, we have these spacing classes. For instance, I can say P-5, and that's going to give it some padding all the way around. All right, so that's our heading. And then we're just going to have two sections underneath that. So let's say section. I'm going to give it an ID of section 1. And let's see, in here we're going to have an H1. And I'm just going to say section 1 in there. Okay, and then we're going to do a paragraph. Now, I just want a bunch of sample text here. So what I'm going to do is say lorem 40 tab, and that's going to give me 40 words of dummy text. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Okay, that's what it should look like. Now I'm going to add some classes to this section as well to make it look a little better. So let's give it a class of BG-faded, which will give it a gray background. You can see the background is now gray. I want some padding, so I'm going to say P5, just like we did with the header, and some margin on the top and bottom, so that's going to be MY dash, and let's do 3. Okay, there we go. Now I just want one more section, so I'm going to copy the entire section tag. Just space these out, and then this is going to have an ID of section 2, and I'm just going to change the text to section 2. All right, so that's what we're going to work with. This is our UI. So now let's start to work with Animate.css. Now if we go to the documentation, which is the GitHub page. And let's see, we've already brought it in. These are all the different animations that are available. And for the usage, what we want to do is we want to add whatever we want to animate. So let's start off with the header. We're going to animate the header. We need to give it a class of animated. Okay, and we also need to give it a class of whatever the animation we want. In this case, they're using bounce, but we can choose from any of these. What I want to choose is slide, slide in down, because I want this header to slide in from the top. I want it to slide in down. So let's go to our header. Now we already have some classes that are the Bootstrap classes, so we're just going to add on to that. We'll say animated, and let's say slide in down. And save, and now when we reload, you'll see that it slides in from the top going down. Okay, so now let's do these sections. I want this one to slide in from the left and this one to slide in from the right. So for the section, let's add a class of animated, and let's do slide in slide in left. What, hon? Hurry up. Hurry up, come here. Come here. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Say hi to everybody. This is my lovely daughter. All right, go upstairs. Don't forget your stuff. And that's our friend Shaylin.
Are you actually going to post that?
Maybe.
Do it.
All right, so back to business. So like I said, we want this section to come in from the left. So we have class animated slide in left. Would it be slide in left or slide in right? Let's go ahead and save that. Yep, there we go. So it's going to slide in from the left. And then this last one, section 2, we're going to give that a class of animated, and let's do slide in right. Okay, save, and there we go. So the top one comes in from the bottom, these ones come in from the left and right. Now we can actually mess with some of the properties here. If we go to the documentation and we look, let's see, is it even here? Right here. So if we go in our CSS, we specify the element, and we can control the duration, the delay, and the iteration count. So remember, we have an ID of section 1 and an ID of section 2. So what we'll do is go into our head and put some style tags in. Okay, and let's see, we're going to do animation. Whoops, first of all, we need to specify section 1. And we'll say animation delay. And let's set that to 3s, so 3 seconds. Alright, and then we'll save that. Notice that section 1 is going to sit there for 3 seconds and then come in. Okay, not only that, but we can also control the duration. So let's set that to 5s, or 5 seconds. Delays 3 seconds, and then it takes 5 seconds to come in. So you can slow it down, you can speed it up. And then we also have animation iteration count. Alright, so let's set that to 3. And then I'm just going to change the delay back. I'm going to change the delay to 0, the duration to 1, which I think is the default. So let's save it. So it comes in once, twice, 3 times. We can also set it to infinite. And now it'll just keep happening. Okay, but I'm actually going to comment out the duration and the iteration count. Actually, I won't comment it out. I'll just set it to the default. So 1 second, and then the count will set to 1. All right. And actually, I'm going to set the delay to 1 second. And then what I'll do is set the section 2. Say section 2. And we'll set the animation delay to 2 seconds. That way, 1 will go and then the second one will go. So let's save. There we go, 1 and 2. All right, cool. So now what I want to do is I want to look at using JavaScript and jQuery with Animate.css. Because right now this stuff is just going to happen when the page loads, but you can actually make it so that you can dynamically add these classes, these animation classes, to make these things happen whenever you want. So let's go into section 2, right under the paragraph, and we're going to create a button. So let's say button. I'll give it a class of btn, and btn primary. We'll say animate. And let's go down to right above our body. Now we're going to need jQuery, so I'm going to search for jQuery cdn.js. Okay, we're just going to grab jQuery.js. I'll say copy script tag, and we'll paste that in. And then we need to create our own script tags. And this is where we'll write our JavaScript. Now, since we're using jQuery, let's go ahead and say function. And we're going to put everything in here. So I'm going to create a custom function called animate. Okay, and then that's going to take in 2 things, an element, and it's going to take in the actual animation effect. Okay, and then all we need this to do is to add the class and then remove the class a second later. So let's say whatever the element is, add class, and we're going to add the class of animate. Okay, remember, when you want to animate something, you need to have that class. It's actually animated. And then I also want the class of whatever's passed in, for instance, bounce or fade or whatever it may be. Now this is a variable, so we're going to have to just concatenate that in like that. So that'll add the class. Then we want to just set a timeout. I'm just going to create a variable called wait and set it to set timeout. Okay, so set timeout, which takes in a function. And then second parameter will be the time, which is going to be 1000 because that's 1000 milliseconds or 1 second. And inside here, we want to remove the class. So we'll say element dot remove class, and we want to remove animated and whatever the custom animation class. And that's it. So now what we'll do is create a click event for our button. Okay, so let's see. We're going to grab... did I give it an ID? No, I didn't. So the button, I'm going to give an ID of Animate BTN. So let's grab onto that. Animate BTN. And we're going to say .click. So when someone clicks it, it's going to run a function. And all we want to do is call the animate. And we need to, first of all, figure out what we're going to animate. We're going to do the H1 and the paragraph in section 2. So I'm going to add an ID here. We'll say anim head. And then for the paragraph, we'll say ID anim body. Okay. And then that's going to take in the element. Okay, it's going to take in element. So that's going to be the ID of anim head, and then the type of animation we want, which I'm going to do bounce. Alright, so we also want to just return false at the end of this. And let's try it. So we'll let that go on, and then we hit the button. Nothing's happening. Let's see why. Bounce is not defined. That's because this should be in quotes. Let's try that. Hit it, and there we go. So now every time we click it, it's going to bounce. So let's also do the body. Remember the paragraph, we gave that an ID of anim body. So for that, let's do let's see. So we have all these to choose from. Let's do rubber band. And let that load. Sorry about that. Let me shut this damn thing off. Okay, so now if I click the button, you'll see the paragraph gets the rubber band effect. Cool. So last thing I want to do is I'm going to add another button, and I want to be able I want this header to go back up, because when it loads, it comes down. I want an event to make it go back up. So let's just copy this button. And we'll call this one Animate Button 2. Say Animate 2. And then I'll just copy this. So Animate Button 2. And let's see, we only need one of these animations. We're going to grab the header. And we're going to apply the slide out up. Okay, we want it to slide out and up. Now if I do that, it's going to work, okay? But it's not going to stay up there. It's just the event. It's not going to actually stay up. If we wanted it to stay up, we could just add in some custom JavaScript here. Let's do a set timeout. And this takes in a function. And we're going to say we want this to go 1 second. Okay, and then in here, what we'll do is we'll grab the header, and we're just going to set, we're going to say, what do I do, CSS, and we'll set visibility, and let's set that to, whoops, let's set that to hidden. Now you want to do the set timeout, because if you don't, it's just going to disappear right away. It's not going to even do the effect. So let's save, and then as soon as I click Animate 2, it's going to go up. A second later, visibility gets changed to hidden, and it stays hidden. Okay, so I don't know if that's useful or not, but it just gives you an idea of some of the things that you can do. You know, when I do videos like this, it's not to, you know, it's not for you to build this exact thing and use this exact thing. It's to just show you how to do this so that you can think of and brainstorm your own projects and use these tools. Okay, so hopefully, I think most of you guys understand that. It's not always about the actual project, especially if I call it sandbox, that basically means it's just that. It's a sandbox to learn stuff. It's not an actual project. Okay, although we do actual projects as well. So hopefully you guys like this. I think Animate.css is pretty cool. You know, it's a nice, easy way to add some animation effects to your website or your application. So that's it, guys. Please subscribe. Please leave a like if you liked it, and I will see you in the next video.